The bridge of the Terran Defense Fleet's flagship Endeavour was quiet except for the low hum of the engines and the occasional beep of sensors. The ship cut smoothly through folded space, far from any known colony or trade route. Most of the crew expected another long patrol through the emptiness of the void. But that silence was broken by a sharp tone from the communications console. Lieutenant Mara Chen frowned at the screen. "Admiral, I am picking up a signal. It is faint, distorted, but definitely artificial." Admiral Elias Reyes turned his head, his eyes narrowing. He was a tall man, his uniform pressed with military precision, but what stood out most was the calm weight in his expression. "Origin?" "Unknown," Mara said. She adjusted the filters, running the data through translation programs. "It's strange. It's broadcasting on an old subspace frequency, one that most species abandoned centuries ago." The crew leaned closer, curious. Through the static, a voice emerged, high-pitched and trembling. The words were broken, but the meaning was clear. "Help. Attackers. Many dead. We cannot survive." The room grew tense. A distress call. Commander Patel, the second in command, crossed his arms. "Admiral, this could be anything. Pirates luring us in, old automated beacon, even a trap from hostile fleets. We have no confirmation." Reyes did not answer immediately. He walked toward the viewport, watching the endless stars slide past in streaks of blue light. His silence stretched until the crew grew restless. Finally he spoke. "Set a course for the source of that signal." Patel blinked. "Sir, you want to divert the fleet?" "We're already stretched thin. Command didn't assign us to search and rescue. It could waste days." Reyes turned. His voice was steady, carrying across the bridge. "If that call is real, then somewhere out there people are dying. Maybe they're not human. Maybe they're strangers." But they called for help. The crew exchanged glances. Everyone knew the Admiral's reputation. He had once said, "Humanity's strength is not only in its weapons, but in the fact that we never walk away." "Plot the jump," Reyes said. "Because if we don't answer, no one else will." The fleet shifted course. 6 warships slid into formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant suns. The stars warped and bent as the ship slipped into jump space, engines roaring like silent thunder. For the next 12 hours, the crew prepared. Medical bays were stocked, engineers readied emergency repair kits, and pilots checked their crafts twice over. The mood was mixed, half anxious, half proud. In the mess hall, young Ensign Darius Juno sat with his tray of ration food staring at the floor. Across from him, Chief Engineer Harper smirked. "First time on a rescue, kid?" she asked. Darius nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "I thought patrols were supposed to be boring." Harper shrugged. "Most of the time they are. But boredom doesn't last in this fleet. Not with Reyes in command. He's the kind who sees a spark in the dark and runs toward it." Darius frowned. "But what if it's a trap? The predators out there, the raiders, the ones who hate humans, we'd be walking right into their hands." Harper leaned back, her arms crossed. "Could be. But let me ask you something. If you were the one stranded out there sending a signal, what would you hope for?" Darius hesitated, then quietly replied, "That someone was coming." Harper grinned. "Exactly. That's why we answer. That's why we're called Death Worlders. Not because of how dangerous we are, but because no danger makes us back down." Back on the bridge, the signal grew clearer as they neared the source. It repeated in a broken loop like a heartbeat on the edge of silence. Mara Chen worked tirelessly, adjusting the translation. "Admiral, I have a better read now. The language structure matches no major polity. I think it's from a minor species. Very small star domain. Unknown in most records." Reyes leaned over her console. The words now scrolled in plain Terran standard. "This is the vessel Liranya of the Vayari people. We are under attack. Many dead, systems failing. We request any help. Coordinates attached." Reyes read the message twice, then nodded. "How far?" 6 more jumps, Admiral. About 20 hours. "Very well," Reyes said. "Send word to the fleet. We are answering." As the hours passed, anticipation weighed heavy. Every soldier, every medic, every technician knew what was at stake. To some, it was just another mission. To others, it was a reminder of why they joined in the first place. Private Anya Torres, stationed in the medical bay, cleaned her instruments carefully. She whispered to herself, "Please let us make it in time." In the hangar, pilots joked loudly, but their laughter was too sharp, too forced. Beneath the bravado, they were afraid. and in his quarters Admiral Reyes sat alone with a cup of tea. He stared at the star charts projected before him. So many systems, so many civilizations, and yet time after time humanity seemed to be the one answering calls. Why? He thought back to Earth's history. How fragile humanity once was, how many times disaster struck, and how they endured. That was the lesson carried into the stars. No one survives alone. Finally, the last jump. The Endeavour and her fleet emerged into a silent star system. At first, everything looked normal. A dim sun, a scattering of planets. Then the scanners began to ping. "Admiral," Mara whispered, her voice tight. "I'm reading debris, massive amounts. Wreckage of ships, whole fleets torn apart. On the main screen, the image sharpened. The system was littered with broken hulls, fragments drifting like bones in a graveyard. Some still glowed faintly from recent fire. The bridge fell silent. "Life signs?" Reyes asked. The crew held their breath until Mara answered. "Yes, a single ship badly damaged but alive. About 2,000 survivors on board." Reyes closed his eyes briefly, then opened them with renewed purpose. "Bring us in. Prepare boarding teams and medical crews. Move quickly, before whoever did this comes back." The fleet pushed forward, their engines flaring like beacons in the darkness. The humans had arrived, and so Part 1 closes with the Deathworlders stepping into a star system that looked more like a graveyard than a sanctuary. Somewhere out there, a desperate people clung to life waiting for a miracle, and humanity once again had chosen to be that miracle. The Terran fleet glided slowly through the ruined star system. On the main screen of the Endeavour, shattered warships floated aimlessly, their twisted frames lit by the pale glow of the distant sun. Entire cruisers were torn in half, their insides exposed like broken bones. No one on the bridge spoke. Even hardened veterans who had seen the worst of battles were quiet. The silence of so many dead pressed heavily on them all. Admiral Reyes broke the stillness with a calm but firm order. "Bring us closer to the surviving vessel. Keep our weapons charged, but do not provoke. Whoever did this may still be near." The fleet moved into formation. 6 Terran ships drifted like silent guardians among the wreckage. Their polished metal hulls reflected the light of burning debris as they passed. Lieutenant Mara Chen reported, her fingers flying over the console. "Admiral, I have a visual on the survivor ship." Patching it through. The image appeared on the main screen. It was a large cruiser, though barely recognizable. Entire sections of its outer hull were blackened by fire. Plates of armor had been ripped away as if peeled back by giant claws. Faint blue lights flickered across the body, weak and fading, struggling to keep systems online. The alien ship drifted slowly, its engines dead, its nose tilting downward toward the pull of a nearby gas giant. Without help it would not last long. Reyes nodded once. "Open hailing channels." Mara adjusted frequencies, her brow furrowed. "Sending message. Let's hope they can still answer." Static filled the speakers, then a broken voice crackled through. "This is the very ship Liranya." "Who are you?" Reyes stepped forward. His voice was steady and strong, every word clear. "This is Admiral Elias Reyes of the Terran Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal. We are here to help." There was a pause. Then the alien voice returned, weaker but filled with emotion. "Terrans, humans, you came? Please, we have thousands still alive. Our systems, failing. We cannot hold much longer. Stay calm," Reyes said. "We will not abandon you. Prepare to receive boarding teams. Medical aid is on the way." Within minutes, human shuttles launched from the fleet. Sleek and sturdy, they cut through the debris fields toward the crippled alien vessel. On board one of the shuttles, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Aisha Rahman secured her gear. Around her, medics strapped down cases of supplies. The air was tense, but her voice was calm. "Remember," she told her team, "these people are frightened and injured. Show them we are here as friends. First aid first, explanations later." The shuttle rocked gently as it latched onto the docking bay of the alien ship. Sparks danced across the broken metal as the humans forced the doors open. Inside was darkness. The air smelled faintly of smoke and burned electronics. Dim blue emergency lights flickered along the corridors, and then they saw them, the Veyari. They were tall and slender compared to humans, their skin a pale silver gray that shimmered faintly under the emergency lights. Their large black eyes blinked slowly, filled with exhaustion and fear. Many wore tattered uniforms stained with soot and blood. Others leaned on one another, barely able to stand. When the humans entered, some Veyari flinched, expecting weapons. But instead, they saw medics rushing forward with stretchers and kits. Dr. Rahman knelt beside a wounded Veyari lying against the wall. "It's all right," she said gently, her translator device echoing the words in their language. "We're here to help." The alien stared at her, wide-eyed. Why would you come?" "None of the others." None answered. Rahman offered a small smile. "Because someone had to." Meanwhile, aboard the Endeavour, Admiral Reyes received the first reports. Thousands were alive, but many were critically injured. The Veyari cruiser's main reactors were nearly dead, its oxygen failing, and its life support systems minutes from collapse. Commander Patel leaned closer to the Admiral.
"Sir, this ship will not hold together much longer."
"Should we begin evacuation immediately?" Reyes considered. "Yes, but carefully. Move civilians and wounded first. Prioritize stability. I don't want chaos or panic." Patel nodded and began relaying orders. In the docking bay of the Laranya, Ensign Darius Juno stood with his rifle slung over his back. Though the mission was rescue, he had been ordered to stand guard with the security detail. His eyes scanned the weary alien faces filing past. One of the younger Veyari stumbled and nearly fell. Darius quickly stepped forward, catching him before he hit the floor. The alien's eyes widened in surprise. "You are strong," the Veyari whispered. His voice trembled. "I thought humans were only warriors, but you are gentle too." Darius smiled awkwardly. "We fight when we must, but we help whenever we can." The alien nodded faintly, as though this was something entirely new to him. Hours passed as the evacuation continued. Shuttle after shuttle carried the Veyari to the Terran fleet. Medical bays overflowed with patients, but the human doctors worked tirelessly. The aliens were given food, clean water, and warm blankets. Some cried openly, overwhelmed by simple kindness. Others simply sat in silence, still unable to believe they had been saved. Admiral Reyes walked the medical bay, observing quietly. A Veyari officer, tall and regal even in his exhaustion, approached him. His uniform was scorched, one arm bound in a sling. "I am Captain Thalan of the Liranya," he said, his voice heavy with fatigue. "On behalf of my people, I thank you. We did not think anyone would come. When we sent the signal, we expected only silence." Reyes met his gaze evenly. "Silence is not the way of humanity, not when lives are at stake." Thalan's large, dark eyes glistened. "You do not understand. No one answers the Veyari. We are small, unimportant. To most, our suffering is invisible. But you came," Reyes simply said, "because it was right." Later, in the strategy chamber, the senior officers gathered. The holographic map of the system flickered in the center. Red markers indicated the debris fields, glowing faintly across the projection. Patel studied the data grimly. These ships were not destroyed by pirates. This was organized, precise. Whoever attacked knew exactly how to overwhelm the Veyari. Mara Chen added, "The pattern of the wreckage suggests hit-and-run strikes. Fast-moving vessels, high-energy output. They disabled shields first, then tore through the fleet." "Do we know who?" Reyes asked. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Patel spoke. "Sir, the description matches reports of the Craw, the predator species that's been raiding the outer rims. If it's them, they don't leave survivors." The room grew cold. The Craw were infamous. Not just raiders, but exterminators. Where they struck, civilizations vanished. "Admiral," Patel said carefully, "if they did this, they may return. Should we withdraw while we can?" Reyes looked around the table. Every officer's eyes were on him. Slowly, he shook his head. "No, we will not run. These people need protection. If the predators come back, they will not find easy prey. They will find us." Back in the medical bay, young Ensign Darius helped Dr. Rahman deliver supplies. One of the Veyari children tugged at his sleeve, holding a small broken toy made of crystal. The child whispered shyly, Will we die too?" Darius knelt, meeting the child's eyes. He smiled softly. "No, you're safe now. We won't let anything happen to you." The child's eyes widened, and for the first time a small smile appeared. But as the humans continued their rescue, the Endeavor's sensors began to beep. Mara Chen frowned, adjusting her readings. Her voice trembled as she spoke into the comm. "Admiral, I am detecting a disturbance at the edge of the system. Subspace rupture forming, multiple signatures." The bridge grew tense. Reyes's jaw tightened. On screen, the stars bent and twisted. Dark shapes began to emerge, sleek and sharp, their hulls glowing with malevolent energy. The predators were returning. The bridge of the Endeavor filled with tension as the alarms blared. On the main screen, subspace tore open like a wound in the fabric of the stars. One after another, dark vessels emerged. Sleek, curved shapes gleamed under the dim light, their sharp edges glowing faintly red. Lieutenant Mara Chen's voice was low but steady as she read the data. Admiral, I count 12 ships, 3 heavy cruisers, 6 escorts, and the rest appear to be raiders. Energy signatures match? The Crow. The word hung in the air like a storm cloud. Commander Patel's fists tightened at his sides. So it's true. The predators are back. On the medical decks, whispers spread quickly among the rescued Vayari. When the name Kra reached their ears, fear rippled like a wave. Some wept, others trembled and clutched their families. For them, the return of the Kra meant only one thing: final destruction. Admiral Reyes stood tall at the center of the bridge, his face calm though the crew around him looked shaken. His voice carried across the room, steady as steel. Bring the fleet into defensive formation. Position the Endeavor in front of the Vayari vessel. Arm all batteries. Launch strike wings. The officers snapped into action. Yes, sir. Across the Terran fleet, engines flared as warships shifted position, drawing a protective shield around the crippled alien cruiser. Weapons powered up, glowing along their hulls like silent fire. In the hangars, pilots sprinted to their ships, climbing into cockpits while mechanics rushed to lock in final checks. Inside one of the strike craft, Ensign Darius Juno pulled on his helmet. His heart pounded, but he forced himself to breathe evenly. This was no training exercise. This was the real fight. His wing leader's voice came over the comm. All right, Deathwing Squadron, listen up. Those predators think we'll scatter like prey. They're wrong. Stick with your partner, follow formation, and hit them hard. We fight as one. Darius gripped the controls, his fear fading into focus. Copy that, he muttered. The Kra fleet began to spread out. Their ships moved like a hunting pack, weaving through the debris with frightening speed. Admiral, Mara reported. They're moving directly toward the Vayari cruiser. They're ignoring us. Rhea's eyes narrowed. Then we'll make them pay attention. He raised his hand. Fire. The first volley roared out from the Terran fleet. Bright streaks of plasma and railgun slugs tore through space, slamming into the lead Kra raiders. 2 exploded instantly, breaking apart into clouds of burning shards. The predators answered back. Their beams of red energy lashed across the void, hammering against the Terran shields. The Endeavor shook violently, but the barriers held. All ships maintain fire, Patel shouted. The battle had begun. From the hangar bays, strike craft poured into space. Sleek Terran fighters darted toward the enemy like arrows, weaving between blasts of energy. Darius's squadron dove straight into a pack of Kra interceptors. Deathwing, break and engage. Lasers flashed. Explosions flared like fireworks. Darius locked onto one enemy, squeezing the trigger. His cannons tore through its hull, sending the predator craft spinning into pieces, but another swooped down behind him. His warning alarm screamed. Just as the blast came, his wing partner cut across, destroying the attacker with a single strike. You're clear, Juno, the voice shouted. Thanks. Darius breathed, his hands shaking slightly on the controls. On the bridge of the Endeavor, the battle unfolded like a storm. Mara's console lit with constant alerts. Admiral, 2 enemy escorts down. One of ours, the Gallant, has taken heavy damage but is still fighting. Reyes nodded. His eyes never left the main screen, where the Kra heavy cruisers were slowly advancing. Their weapons pulsed with growing power, targeting the helpless Vayari ship behind the Terran line. They want the survivors, Patel muttered. No, Reyes said firmly. They want to erase them. But they'll have to erase us first. Down in the medical bay, Dr. Rahman worked swiftly among rows of wounded Vayari. She could feel the ship shudder with every blast from outside, but she kept her voice calm. A Vayari child clung to her arm, trembling. They've come back. We will die now. Rahman knelt, meeting the child's wide black eyes. No, listen to me. You are safe here. We will not let them take you. Her words carried such confidence that even the surrounding adults seemed to draw strength from them. Back in space, the Kra pressed harder. Their cruisers unleashed a storm of fire, pounding at the Terran defenses. The Gallant finally buckled, flames bursting from its side as it fell out of formation. Gallant is crippled, Mara called. Rhea's face tightened. Signal their crew. Evacuate if possible. The rest of us hold the line. Suddenly, a massive Craw cruiser pushed forward, its weapons glowing with deadly light. It ignored the Terran warships and fired directly at the Veyari cruiser. The beam streaked across space, but the Endeavor surged in front, intercepting the blast with its shields. The ship rocked violently, lights flickering, but the barrier held. Gasps filled the Veyari decks as they realized what had happened. The humans had thrown their own flagship into the path of death to protect them. The Craw seemed confused. They had fought many species before, but none had ever shielded another so fiercely. To them, prey was prey, no matter who it was. But these humans, these Deathworlders, fought not for themselves, but for others. The predators hesitated, and in that hesitation, the Terrans struck back. All ships concentrate fire on their lead cruiser, Reyes commanded. A storm of plasma and missiles rained down on the Predator vessel. Its shields collapsed under the relentless assault. In seconds, it erupted into a fireball of broken metal. A cheer went up across the Terran comms, but Reyes did not celebrate. His voice was still sharp. Do not relax. The fight is far from over. He was right. The Craw regrouped quickly, anger burning in their movements. Their remaining cruisers split apart, trying to encircle the humans. Strike wings, cut off their flanks, Patel ordered. Darius's squadron dove once more, weaving between wreckage and enemy fire. Explosions lit the dark like brief suns. The void was filled with chaos, but the Terrans held firm. Inside the Veyari cruiser, Captain Thalen watched from a damaged viewport. His people had lost all hope hours ago. Yet here he was, alive, because another species had chosen to stand between them and death. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "They fight for us." An elder beside him shook his head in disbelief. No one does such a thing. Not in this galaxy. Thalen's eyes never left the human fleet. Then perhaps we have never truly known the Deathworlders. As the battle raged on, one truth became clear. The Craw were strong, swift, and merciless, but the humans were something else entirely, unyielding. Every time the Predators tried to push forward, they were met with walls of fire and iron resolve. Every time they tried to break the line, the humans closed ranks tighter. The Veyari, watching from safety, realized something their ancestors had never dreamed possible. The Predators could be stopped, and humanity was proving it. The fight stretched on, the stars themselves flashing with light from constant fire. Both sides had taken losses, but the Terran line still held. And now, for the first time, the Craw began to falter. Their sleek vessels, built for swift kills and fleeing prey, found themselves trapped in a battle they had not expected. Against prey that refused to run, Admiral Reyes stood tall, his gaze steady as steel. We hold this ground. We hold it until they break. The humans fought harder. The Predators pushed back, and the Veyari clung to hope as the impossible unfolded before their eyes. The Predators had returned, but this time they had not found helpless victims, they had found humanity. The stars themselves seemed to burn as the battle escalated. Explosions flared across the void, lighting up the dark with streaks of plasma and fire. The Terran fleet moved like a single organism, coordinated and precise, each ship protecting the Veyari survivors at the center of their formation. On the bridge of the Endeavor, Admiral Reyes watched the chaos with calm intensity. Every movement was calculated, every command precise. "Status report," he ordered, his voice steady over the din of alarms and chatter. Lieutenant Mara Chen's fingers flew across the console. "Admiral, we've destroyed 3 of the Craw escorts. 2 more cruisers are heavily damaged. Casualties minimal so far. The Veyari ship remains secure behind our shields." Commander Patel's face was set in grim determination. "They're adapting, sir. The Craw are beginning to coordinate more tightly, attempting flanking maneuvers. Their larger cruisers are closing in on the Endeavor." Reyes nodded. "Then we'll give them something to remember." In the hangar bays, Terran pilots prepared for another sortie. Ensign Darius Juno strapped himself into his strike craft, heart pounding but mind sharp. Around him, other pilots exchanged brief words of encouragement. No fear, only determination. "Remember," said Squadron Leader Kira Valen, her eyes bright behind her helmet. "We fight for life. The Veyari are counting on us. Hold nothing back. Strike fast, strike hard." Darius gripped the controls. "Yes, ma'am. Let's do this." The shuttles launched into space, weaving between debris and laser fire. Bright streaks of plasma followed them as they engaged the Craw interceptors. Explosions flared, filling the darkness with blinding light. Darius locked onto a Craw fighter and fired. The enemy vessel spun into a cloud of sparks. Behind him, another tried to ambush, but his wing partner destroyed it in a single shot. "We've got their attention," Darius muttered, excitement and fear mingling in his chest. On the bridge, Mara Chen called out again. "Admiral, the Craw cruisers are focusing fire on the Veyari ship. Their energy output is immense. Shields won't hold for long if this continues." Reyes's jaw tightened. "Then we escalate. All batteries concentrate on the lead Craw cruiser. Strike wings split their formation. We cut their attack in half," the fleet responded instantly. Bright beams of plasma streaked across space, striking the Craw lead cruiser with precision. Explosions rocked its hull, forcing the Predator ships to scatter. For the first time, the Craw faced resistance they could not easily overcome. The Veyari watched from their crippled vessel, their large black eyes wide with disbelief. They had lived in fear for generations, taught that no one could protect them from the Predators. And yet here were humans, strangers to their people, standing between them and annihilation. Captain Thalen whispered to an elder beside him. "They fight. For us, do you understand? They do not flee. They do not abandon. They fight." The elder's voice trembled. "No species has ever done this. Not in our history. Humans, they are something else entirely." Even among the wounded and frightened, hope began to bloom. Back in space, the battle raged with unrelenting intensity. The Craw adapted quickly, firing back with coordinated strikes. A sudden barrage struck the Endeavor, shaking the flagship violently. Warning lights flashed and the bridge crew braced themselves. "Shields holding at 70%, Mara reported, fingers moving rapidly, reinforcing forward vectors. Reyes's expression was calm, almost serene. "Hold firm. We are stronger together. Concentrate fire on the nearest cruiser. Take them down before they split our line." The Endeavor unleashed a full volley from its batteries. Beams of white-hot energy slammed into the Craw cruiser, tearing through its hull. The vessel shuddered, sparks flying across its surface. Then with a deafening explosion it broke apart, fragments scattering into the void. Cheering erupted across the fleet comms, but Reyes's voice cut through immediately. "Focus. The fight is not over. The Craw will not surrender. We push forward." Darius' squadron dove again into the chaos. He weaved between debris, blasting interceptors and escort ships alike. The Predators had underestimated the humans' speed and precision. For every Craw fighter destroyed, another two tried to attack, but the strike wings adapted instantly. Deathwing, concentrate on the enemy flanks. "Protect the Veyari," squadron leader Kira Valen shouted. Explosions erupted around Darius. Bright sparks of energy flashed past his cockpit. He twisted the controls, dodging a lethal blast, then fired back with perfect aim. One by one, enemy fighters disintegrated into sparks and debris. Even in the heat of battle, a sense of pride and exhilaration filled him. Humanity was holding the line. Humanity was winning. On the Endeavor, Reyes coordinated the fleet with remarkable precision. Orders flowed like a river, each ship knowing its place, each captain trusting in the human strategy. Patel looked at the Admiral in awe. "Sir, I've never seen anything like this. They expected prey, not fighters who would defend another species with such purpose." Reyes shook his head slightly. "That is the essence of humanity. We do not flee when others suffer. We do not abandon those in need. Strength without compassion is meaningless. The Craw are about to learn that." The Craw-heavy cruisers, realizing they could not break the line, tried a desperate maneuver. They split into smaller groups, attempting to circle the Terran ships and strike from multiple directions. Mara Chen's console flashed with warnings. "They're trying to surround us. Shields are under stress. We need to counter quickly." Reyes responded immediately. "All ships rotate to face threats. Strike wings intercept the flanks. Do not let them break through." The fleet responded like a single organism. Warships twisted, rotated, and repositioned themselves with flawless coordination. Human strike wings swooped in to intercept the Craw fighters attempting to encircle them. Back on the Veyari ship, the crew had begun to stabilize. Humans and aliens worked side by side, delivering first aid, stabilizing life support systems, and distributing food and water. Slowly, the realization dawned. They were not helpless. Captain Thalen approached Dr. Rahman. "Your people, They fight as if the universe itself bends to them. We owe you our lives, Dr. Rahman smiled tiredly. We fight because it's right. That is all, Thalen nodded solemnly. I will tell the history of your courage, Admiral Reyes, to every Veyari I meet. You have changed the future of our people. The battle in space reached its peak. Every ship was engaged. The Krah, though fierce, were faltering. Their vessels burned, shields failing, systems damaged. The Terran fleet pressed forward relentlessly, turning defense into offense. A sudden call came over comms. Admiral, their fleet command ship is exposed. This is our chance. Rhea's eyes narrowed. All batteries fire at will. Strike wings, focus everything on their command ship. Take it down now! A coordinated volley of energy slammed into the Krah command ship. Explosions rippled across its hull, tearing it apart in brilliant flashes of fire. Debris scattered into space, and the remaining Krah, seeing their leader destroyed, faltered. Confusion spread through their ranks. Without coordination, the Predators had no way to continue their assault. Gradually, the Terran fleet pressed forward, pushing the remaining Krah out of the system. The survivors retreated into the darkness, leaving the Veyari star system battered but alive. A cheer erupted across the Terran fleet comms. Pilots who had fought tirelessly let out shouts of relief and triumph. Even Admiral Reyes allowed a faint smile. Patel exhaled heavily. Sir, we did it. They're gone. Reyes' voice was calm but firm. Yeah, for now. The fight is never truly over. But today we have saved lives, and we have shown the Krah what it means to face humanity. On the Veyari ship, Captain Thalen addressed his people. We have lived because they chose to fight for us. Humans, they are not just strong. They are brave, compassionate, and relentless. Today we have hope again. The survivors wept openly, tears of relief and gratitude flowing freely. They had been saved from certain destruction, and it was humanity that had done it. As the fleet regrouped and tended to their wounded, a sense of pride and awe filled every human aboard the Endeavor. They had faced a merciless predator race, and they had protected the innocent using courage, skill, and unyielding resolve. And in the hearts of the Veyari, a seed of hope had been planted, one that would grow for generations to come. For humanity had shown once again that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, when others would flee, the Deathworlders answer, and when they fight with fire and fury. The Veyari star system was quiet now. The dark shadows of the Krah fleet had receded, leaving behind broken debris and a silence that felt both heavy and fragile. The Terran fleet hovered in formation, shields lowered but ready, as the human crews worked tirelessly to aid the survivors. On board the flagship Endeavor, Admiral Elias Reyes stood on the bridge, gazing at the distant Veyari cruiser. The once damaged vessel was now stabilized, its systems slowly being repaired by human engineers working alongside the grateful aliens. Status report, Reyes said calmly, though the bridge was alive with activity. Lieutenant Mara Chen's fingers danced across the controls. All surviving Veyari have been evacuated to our ships. Life support is stabilizing. Their cruiser, Liranya, will be fully operational within 6 hours with our help. No further Krah activity detected in the system. Commander Patel let out a breath he had been holding. It's finally over. For now, Reyes nodded slowly. For now. His eyes scanned the calm, starry expanse outside the viewport. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers. Today they had faced one of the worst, but they had prevailed, and the Veyari had survived. In the medical bay, Dr. Aisha Rahman moved from one Veyari patient to another. Bandages had been applied, fractures stabilized, and burns treated. Children clung to blankets, their small faces pale but safe. Adults huddled in small groups, speaking softly to each other in awe of their rescuers. Captain Thalen of the Liranya walked among the recovered, his long arms folded across his chest. He paused beside Dr. Rahman, observing the humans who had saved his people. They fight, not just with weapons but with their hearts, Thalen said quietly. I have seen many species in my life, but none like this. They do not abandon others even when the danger is great. How can they be so strong? Dr. Rahman smiled faintly, shaking her head. Strength is not just in the arms or the shields. It is in the choice to act when others might turn away. Humanity chooses to protect. That is why we are strong. Thalen looked down at the floor, considering her words. Then perhaps there is hope for the galaxy. If others would follow your example. His voice trailed off. In the hangar bay, Ensign Darius Juno helped his squad pack equipment while glancing at the repaired Veyari shuttles. The young aliens were boarding them to return to their homeworld. Their faces were full of awe and gratitude, expressions Darius had never seen before. One small Veyari child ran up to him, holding a crystal toy that had survived the battle. "You saved us," the child whispered. Will you come again if we call?" Darius knelt to meet the child's large black eyes. "Yes," he said firmly, a quiet pride in his voice. "If you ever need help, we will come. That is our promise." The child's eyes widened, a small smile forming. It was the first sign of true relief, a spark of hope in a world that had known only fear. Back on the bridge, Reyes and Patel reviewed the system scans. Though most of the debris had been marked and secured, some fragments of the cross ship still drifted dangerously near planetary orbits. The Admiral made a note to have salvage teams recover the wreckage, both for safety and intelligence purposes. Patel broke the silence. "Sir, they will tell others about today. The Krah thought they could destroy the Veyari. But humanity, you've shown them that we are not easily defeated." Reyes allowed a small nod. "Yes, but our duty is not glory. It is life we protect because it is right. That is what sets us apart." Mara-Chen leaned over, adjusting the displays. "Sir, the Veyari are sending messages to neighboring systems. They are calling this day the miracle of the Deathworlders." Reyes raised an eyebrow. "Good, let them tell the story. Let everyone know that even when the odds seem impossible, humanity will answer the call." As the Veyari shuttles prepared to leave, Captain Thalen approached Admiral Reyes. His silver-gray skin shimmered faintly in the bridge lights, and his black eyes held a deep gratitude. "Admiral Reyes," Thalen said, "we are in your debt. Today you have given us life. Your courage and skill, your people's heart, will never be forgotten. On behalf of the Veyari, I swear an oath. The memory of this day will guide us. Humanity will have allies in our system now and forever." Reyes inclined his head. "Thank you, Captain Thalen. And remember, we do not fight for reward or recognition. We fight because it is right. You would have done the same if roles were reversed." Thalen studied him for a long moment. Perhaps not all species are as steadfast, but I see now that some can rise above fear and chaos. Humanity is exceptional." On board the Endeavor, the fleet prepared to depart the system. Shuttles returned, ships powered engines, and the crew took a moment to reflect. The battle had been fierce, but it had tested their resolve and reminded them of why they were called Deathworlders. In the quiet moments, Reyes walked the corridors of the flagship. He observed medics assisting Veyari patients, engineers working side by side with alien technicians, and pilots sharing stories of the battle. He paused at the viewport, looking out into the endless stars. Somewhere in the galaxy, countless civilizations faced threats like the Krah. Many would perish without aid, yet humanity had chosen to answer as they always did. A soft voice spoke behind him. "Admiral, you think they understand what we are?" Mara-Chen asked, her tone gentle. Reyes shook his head slightly. "They understand a part of it. That humans do not abandon. That humans will face impossible odds to protect life. They may not fully understand, but they will remember. And someday that memory may save others." Back on the Veyari cruiser, Captain Thalen addressed his people one last time before departure. "Today, we were saved by beings we barely knew. They came from the stars to protect us. We were weak and they were strong. But their strength was not in weapons alone. It was in courage and heart and choice. Remember this, Veyari. Remember that life is precious and allies are found where hope is needed most." The Veyari listened silently. Their fear had turned into respect, their despair into hope. In the years to come, they would recount the story of the humans who arrived when all seemed lost. As the Veyari ships departed, Admiral Reyes gathered his senior officers on the bridge. "Today, we showed why we are called Deathworlders," he said. "We answered the call. We faced a predator race that thought they were unstoppable, and we prevailed not for glory but to save lives. That is what humanity does." Commander Patel nodded. "Sir, I think the galaxy has learned something new about humans today." "Yes," Reyes said quietly, his eyes on the fading Veyari fleet. "And so long as we live, we will continue to answer that call. Wherever life is in danger, wherever hope is dim, humanity will rise." In the hangar bays, Darius Juno finally removed his helmet. Sweat covered his brow and his hands shook slightly from the adrenaline of battle. He looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of what had just occurred. A small voice beside him made him look down. The Veari child he had spoken to earlier smiled up at him. "Thank you," the child whispered. "We will never forget." Darius smiled, feeling warmth fill him. "Neither will we. Remember this day, and remember that you are never alone." As the Terran fleet set course back to human space, the stars stretched out before them, vast and full of possibility. They had faced darkness, fire, and fury, and they had endured. The Veari had been saved. The Kra had been driven back. Humanity had proven once again that courage, compassion, and determination could overcome even the deadliest odds. And somewhere in the galaxy, word would spread. When humans arrive, hope follows because humanity does not abandon. Humanity does not retreat. Humanity fights. To protect life, to uphold hope, and to answer the call of the helpless, and that is why they are known as the Death Worlders.